On the north side of Chicago, a stone's throw away from Wrigley Field, is Graceland Cemetery.
It's founded in 1860. Get a lot of historical figures, a lot of grave sites in the late 1800s, and a lot of your big Chicago industrialists from the late 1800s are buried there.
Well, not many high schools, I think many schools go to a cemetery for a field trip. We get to see what it's like, how the city is different than our experiences in the suburbs.
My favorite part about the field trip was probably seeing all the things we talked about in class in person. I feel like it's just different that like seeing it in person than just talking about it. It was a really cool experience.
I liked seeing those huge graves with all the different architectural styles. And I also liked looking on the graves and spotting names of German immigrants.
My favorite part was actually seeing the Pullman grave. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't expecting it to be that big. I learned a lot. I actually learned about Daniel Burnham, how he had a big impact on Chicago.
Daniel Burnham's grave is on an island surrounded by water. Daniel Burnham's interesting because he's seen as like urban architect or the godfather of modern Chicago planning and design, and everything to this day goes back to him and his vision that he had for Chicago.
Daniel Burnham was kind of the hero of Devil in the White City and getting the World's Fair built in unbelievably fast time, and kind of springboards his later career as really being important to the plan of Chicago.
But it's kind of cool, it's unique. There's a little walkway and a bridge, it's surrounded by water, and it's just like very simple, a couple of rock formations with a plaque under it, and it's very peaceful, very serene, and it kind of, I think, captures the essence that he had, or captures what he was all about as a person.
We talked about Daniel Burnham in class. My kids kind of understood who he was, and actually going and seeing this really just cool memorial to him, they started asking me more questions than ever before about wow, he was really that important in Chicago, huh? And just asking more questions about him.
There is a vibe there. Like, the great thing about Chicago and seeing this is that there's always stories about like the hauntings about it, or like kind of like that energy that you have with Chicago.
There's a grave at Graceland Cemetery of Dexter Graves, who was one of the earliest Chicagoans. Built a really big grave of kind of a man in a cape. And urban legend goes, if you stare into the eyes of this caped man, you see your demise. The Inez Clarke urban legend is she was a girl who died about the age of 6 years old in the 1870s.
The legend has it she was killed by a lightning strike, so during times of storms and thunderstorms that supposedly her statue disappears.
Kids just love to learn more of the Chicago haunting story, and it's just another thing that gets them more interested in history, which is what we want. Anytime I tell someone that I teach Chicago history who's not from Andrew or D230, their immediate reaction is, that's so cool. And I tell them about field trips and just how impactful of an experience it is for kids.
It was kind of surreal. Because one thing talking about it, but seeing everything hands-on, and it's not necessarily that we talked about their grave sites, but it kind of reflects who they were when they were alive.
The overall goal of this field trip is to just bring kids a little bit closer to history. We talk about these super influential early Chicagoans who were alive in the 1800s, and to actually go and know you're standing, just yards from Marshall Field or George Pullman, Potter Palmer, Daniel Burnham, just really makes the history come, no pun intended, alive just a little bit more.